Welcome back to the SportsBruiserz Podcast Episode 11 of the series. If you've not seen the previous 10 episodes, you can see a playlist down below on YouTube if you're watching us, or go on my homepage and you'll see a playlist podcast playlist in the sub bar there. You can click on that and listen to the previous 10 episodes if you have not, as well as Spotify. Last 10 episodes, of course, are on there. Go check it out if you've not already. And we are again on episode 11 of this, and got some few things to talk about here. Starting off with the NBA, a little bit different. That always, for the most part, is football. But starting off the NBA for this one last night, Harden to Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll talk about that real quick, as well as other things too around the NBA, as well. Reports about speculation about what the Golden State offered supposedly for Giannis in that trade package, as well as the All-Star teams announced for USA team and the World team as well. We'll break down all that, the Stars, the Stripes, and then the World team too on top of that. And also talking about going back to the NFL, the Pro Bowl games. I'm sure none of you even cared to watch it, but the Pro Bowl games were on last night. NFC wins that one in flag football, and break down how useless and pointless the Pro Bowl is at this point here, and how watered down it is compared to years ago, or when it was great, or decades ago, if you want to call it that. As well as the NFL announcing international games. The announcement there, and a couple new destinations too, and why I don't like it at all, nor does anyone really like the international games for the most part. Now, with all that being said, jumping into the beginning of what I said about the NBA, the Los Angeles Clippers have traded James Harden to the Cleveland Cavaliers in exchange for guard Darius Garland and a 2026 second-round pick. And that is the full of the trade there. And Harden, once again, on the move, yet again. And this is just what's new? This is just a never-ending cycle of Harden at this point here. Whether he doesn't like the situation anymore, team wants to move off of him, and he goes to the next place too. He goes to a Cavaliers team that's 5th in the Eastern Conference at 30-21. Right there, a little bit comfortable in the playoffs right now, 3 games ahead of in the play-in tournament, where number 7 Miami's at 27-25. And you want to look at the Clippers in the playoff tournament right now, 23-26, 3 games below 500. So again, you look at Harden going to a playoff team again. We'll see what he can do in the playoffs. We probably know what's going to happen, but we'll see yet again at age 36 what he can offer for the Cavaliers at this point now in his career. And I have no expectations really. I don't. At this point here, it's just again what I just talked about a second ago. It's a never-ending cycle of him getting traded. Harden seems to never be happy with the situation. It's never enough for him for whatever reason. And you look at the people he's played around with, the Hall of Famers, I should say. It's not even mentioned. You could probably dive in deeper into just great players. I call them Hall of Famers, or great players on each roster. And it's never enough. But just look at the Hall of Famers he's played with. Kevin Durant, twice, OKC and Brooklyn. Westbrook, twice, of course, OKC and Houston. Chris Paul. I'll throw in, not to say he's on the caliber of everyone else, but I'll throw in Dwight Howard, too, on top of that. One of the better defensive players we've seen, take it how you will, but throw him on there on the list too. But if you want to throw the name out, who cares? But we have Dwight Howard, Kyrie Irving, Joel Embiid, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and now going to be playing with, not Hall of Fame, I should retract that, Donovan Mitchell, or who knows, they let a lot of people in the Hall of Fame, so I won't be won't be too shocking if Donovan Mitchell makes it at some point down the line, but not Hall of Famer at this point. Everyone else Hall of Famer, or soon to be a Hall of Famer, no doubt about that. But you look at the great talent he's played with throughout those years. Again, just that short list alone, you can really dive deep into just great players on the rosters as well. Just look at a good chunk of the list there. Every place he's gone to, he's had a great player or Hall of Famer, potential Hall of Famer, however you want to put it as, and he's not had success. And it's for him, it's sad, because I remember him fondly. The amazing offensive player at Houston and what he was able to do there back in 2018 when he won the MVP, scoring 36.1 points. And we had the discussion at that point there, I remember on sports shows, that people were talking about, is he the best offensive player we've ever seen? Is he better offensively than Jordan? Is he better offensively than this person? And that's the height of Harden, and you see in the regular seasons, the games he can go off on, the great performance he's had. It is the playoffs that he has fallen apart in. And again, at the point there, it's ever since he left Houston, it's been disastrous. Brooklyn did not last that long there, like 2 seasons at most, 2020 to 2022 there, and gets moved off of and gets traded during the 2021-22 season to Philadelphia. Doesn't last that long either. Of course, we know how that series went with Boston in the playoffs, where they could have the opportunity to beat them, fail to do so, and they get beat by Boston in the playoffs. Then gets gets moved to the Clippers, or moves on to the Clippers, plays a few seasons there, and now on to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And again, at this point here, it's just why teams go after him. Is it just because of the name? Is it the cachet? I don't know. I mean, he's had good stats this year: 25, 4, 8, and a 41.9 field goal percentage. Overall, it's not horrible. If you just want to look at sort of the stats or the points wise, 25.4, not bad at all. No, it's not. Still playing good at 36. So I want to say he's hit a brick wall for that net freeze. But everything is just, again, at this point in time, why he keeps getting moved around and think that people think things are going to change. I don't know. I don't like the trade at all to move Darius Garland for him. As you look at a younger player, 10 years younger than James Harden at this point here. Or sorry, Darius Garland. I should rephrase that. If I said his name wrong, I apologize a second ago. I don't get this move. I know maybe it's a little bit desperation because uncertainty with Donovan Mitchell, if he's gonna be signed long term with Cleveland, as well. I've seen reports too. If it's not a deep playoff run, uncertainty if he's going to stick around. You feel like you kind of have to bring in a veterans, a prominent name to put alongside him to get him over top. This is probably the worst name. Again, you look at his just the MO of him in the playoffs and how many years and countless years we bash him for ghosting in the playoffs, not showing up in the biggest moments. Not a good trade, I don't think. And I'm not the biggest NBA fan. I try to keep in tabs here and there for, of course, probably for my channel, mostly NFL. So we'll call this a casual take. But for Harden, I just don't get it. I do not get it at all. It's not going to change anything. More than likely, we're going to have the same talk we did, in playoff performances with at times the Clippers, with the 76ers, with Houston, and the list goes on and on with that. And again, it's why he keeps getting opportunities, why people think he's going to change. I don't know about that. I don't know why, at this point, why people keep thinking that things are going to change, insanity to the point, really, of that. It's insanity, really, for that. Again, stats aren't horrible. If you want to just look at sort of the stats, they're not bad in what he's done this season with the Clippers. But again, we have to come to terms with who he is and what he is at this point. He is not the James Harden, especially in Houston. That's not going to change. If this was prime James Harden, obviously this would be different. Of course, the trade offer or the trade package in return would be a lot more vast in what Houston's getting. But again, it's just that's a long time ago, 2018, 2019, that season when he won MVP, long time ago for that. And you look at games that he's played since then, it's been a little shaky. He's only he played a little over 40 games in 2020, 44 in 2020, 2021, 44 in 2021. You look at 65 in 2021, 58 in 2022. And he's played a couple of good games, or almost for the whole season for thus far in 23 and 24, 72 games, 79 games, and this year 44. But in years past, it's been a little shaky at times. Maybe want him to play a little bit more. Got in 23 and 24 were great. They were 72 and 79, of course, but prior years a little where it's just a little management, injury, and stuff like that. But again, overall wise, I don't like this move at all. I think it's going to be a colossal failure when it gets to the point that we were looking at again in the playoffs here. And certainly can he help you push the Cavaliers up the leaderboards in the Eastern Conference? Yeah, I mean, right now they are tied with Toronto record wise at 30 and 21. You might be able to go, pole vault them to the fourth spot. Boston right now is at 32 games, as well as the Knicks. So again, can you make that push and be a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, or they're even pushing a little bit more for that? I don't think they'll be number 1. Detroit's at 37 and 12, but can you get a couple more spots higher? Can Harden push you up there a little bit more? Yes, but again, it's going to come down to what are you going to do in the playoffs? What are you going to do at that moment there? And again, as right now, I don't have expectations. It's more I have to believe it to see it, really. At this point, I have to, because history has shown that Harden is going to, when it matters most, he's going to disappear. In a closeout game, he's going to disappear. In a elimination game, it's not going to turn out well. So again, for the James Harden trade, Not a big fan of it. Like I've seen over and over again. I'm probably sounding like a broken record, just kind of repeating myself, but not a big fan of it at all. As of right now, we don't have any more trades. Right now, it's probably the biggest one thus far. The trade deadline is tomorrow. Of course, the day recording is February 4th. So we'll see what happens at the deadline. Maybe get another shocking move right there. Did I say Giannis at this point? I doubt it, but it could certainly happen there with trade talks with him as well. But again, we'll see what happens on tomorrow. I don't know what the deadline is specifically for the time, but February 5th tomorrow is going to be the deadline. But again, it's for the Clippers. If maybe they feel like they had to do something. Again, they are a little bit lacking in the Western Conference there, tied with Portland for the play-in tournament at 23 and 26. Well, at least win-wise, Portland has 2 more losses at 28. But again, not looking good there at the point there. So they have to change something up. So I get it from their perspective that they have to get it. They get a younger player in return, a second-round pick, which could probably be useless at this point here, where we know how about second-round picks have been used. So we'll see. Or maybe they hit gold if they use it. So we'll see what happens there. So I think a good outcome for the Clippers there. They kind of desperately need that help, and for the Cavs. Again, we'll see what happens with that 8 games out of first place right now with that. We'll see what happens with them moving forward. Some notable other things, kind of wrapping up with the NBA, is what I talk about for Giannis. Supposedly, NBA is short as well, of course, talking about the teams interested in Giannis and what they were offering. What Shams reported that the Warriors were offering a trade package of mostly picks, but there was reports now saying by Anthony Slater that the Golden State Warriors have included Draymond Green in trade offers for the Milwaukee Bucks superstar. That is interesting, and I think this is at this point here, Draymond Green is more trouble than he's worth. It's distractions and so forth. I think it's too much. I know he's the glue, if you want to call it that, especially for the dynasty, the defensive force that he brings to that table there and stuff like that. He's been there since the beginning of this quote unquote dynasty. It's the beginning with got there a little bit later before Steph Curry was already there, but got there a little bit later, of course. But again, part of the big 3, Klay Thompson no longer there, and I think there is a desperate attempt that you have to pair him up. Steph Curry up with somebody great. Jimmy Butler, unfortunately, is injured, and everything else doesn't look that spectacular either around Steph Curry at this point here. If I look at the standings right now, they are also in the play-in tournament, not that much better than the Clippers, like we just talked about, in the 8th place right here at 27 and 24. And if you want to maximize Steph Curry and what he's doing this season, you got to, at this point, you might have to swing big for him. I mean, again, up there in age, still playing great at his age, no doubt about that. But at some point in time, it has to be better. You look at, bring up just Curry stats right now. This season, he's averaging 27, 3, and 4, a 46.8 field goal percentage. By age 37, again, if you truly feel like you have one more shot at a championship for Steph Curry and get him to number 5 in his career, yes, I think this is a time that you try and pull the trigger. Could it be kind of counterintuitive to get Giannis and you lose that quote unquote glue type of player that Giannis has been for years now, for again, especially in the dynasty and what he's brought, especially on the defensive side of things? Yes, there's a give and take, of course, for that, but it's going to certainly, you would rather take that risk with a superstar in Giannis, and you won't look back on that. So we'll see if that, great for Draymond, at least, again, if that is true, that Draymond Green is now being offered in the trade package for Giannis, and we'll see what else is offered on top of that. I don't think they have too much more to offer for the side of things there, but I think it's really just trying to maximize how many years left Steph has in his career, still playing well into his late 30s. So again, I think it'd be an amazing pairing to see from Giannis and getting the shooter like Steph Curry and what they can do there. And certainly they can flip the table on everybody in the Western Conference. And if Giannis lands there, they could certainly, there's no question for me. I think it's not out of the realm, I should say, that they can easily get out of the play-in tournament and be in a top destination or top spot there, and not being at that point. If you go back to the Western Conference stats here, I mean, you're the Phoenix Suns at 31 and 20, so you're not that far off from 6th place to getting out of the play-in tournament. So again, if you add Giannis to a team that finally has a great player, some of the best players he would have in his career, even though he's had Drew Holiday, Middleton, stuff like that. Great players too, but not Hall of Fame, not all-time great like Steph Curry in this one. So again, that'd be a great pairing. It might be once again PTSD over and over again. Oh, here we go again. The Golden State Warriors get another superstar, another prominent name to go there. At least this isn't the dynasty still in the prime of those big three players that we talked about with Thompson and Draymond. But again, still have a good chance to go all the way. I mean, you still have tough teams. I mean, you have the defending champs in OKC at 40-11. You look at Wembanyama, what San Antonio has done there, second place as well. The Nuggets are still Nuggets with Jokic, and the Lakers, with, of course, with how you feel about LeBron and Luka Doncic, as well as Houston being up there too as a scrappy team, 31-17, the record as well. And then also to announce the NBA All-Star teams, like I said, the Team USA, the World teams, and so forth. If I can get to that real quick. Here it is. So again, we have the Stars, the Stripes, and the World team here. Bring it up right now. If my page can load here. There we go. So for USA Stars, you have Scotty Barnes, Devin Booker, Kate Cunningham, Jalen Duren, Anthony Edwards, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Johnson, and Tyrese Maxey, rounding out the All-Star Stars, or USA Stars, I should say. You look at the USA Stripes, you have Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Donovan Mitchell, and Norman Powell for the Stripes. And then finally for Team World, you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jamal Murray, Luka Doncic, Denny Awija, if I said this right, I said his name right. I know I'm countless. I'm infamous for butchering people's names. Pascal Siakam, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, Victor Wembanyama, and rounding out with Karl Anthony Towns for Team World on there. And again, we'll see Game 1 is USA Stripes versus World. Game 2 is USA Stripes versus Game 1 winning team. Game 3 is USA Stripes versus Game 1 losing team. And Game 4 is the championship, the top two teams remaining for that one. So we'll see how it plays out for those three teams there, again, for the Stars, Stripes, and the World team for that. But let's go wrap up the NBA talks here, moving into the NFL. Talking about the Pro Bowl games that I'm sure no one even cared about. If anyone even paid attention to, but of course we had yesterday the flag football matchup. NFC wins that 66-52 in an exciting fashion. If he wants to once again for Joe Burrow, great offenses, defense can't do anything in the biggest moments. But at this point, I mean, to be honest, I didn't want to really watch the Pro Bowl game. Did anybody really, not just for the flag football, for anything entirely? I completely forgot that it was on. But two things too, I forgot, but also didn't really care because it's meaningless at this point here. When you look at the games that I'm just reading what people list here, and some of them are cool. I'll give them that. Like you talk about dodgeball is always fun. Tug of war is solid, but everything else is just maybe for the passing task for quarterbacks where they throw the targets. That's okay. That's okay. We'll give them that. Anything crazy, but okay, I can see that. But you have satisfying catches. Who cares as a one-handed catches wearing mascot gloves? It's stupid. The big spike for that, absolutely horrible. Relay race, helmet harmony, where they're asking trivia questions or asking questions about their teammates. Horrible. Dodgeball, I like, but definitely probably the best one outside of, if you want to say, the main event, or you could even say even past flag football at that point. Perfect punt. Man in 25 head-to-head, the great football race, tug of war, I said wasn't too bad. I think there was a couple years ago with golf, with some of the swings there, I think like the farthest you can hit or whatever it was, like a year or two ago. It's just, most of these are horrible. They're absolutely horrible. It makes no sense at all. It's completely watered down and different to what the Pro Bowl used to be in its peak and its apex. And it's just, again, the competition itself is brutal. But also, too, for how the NFL sets it up there is, it's always a big difference between who makes the Pro Bowl and who actually plays in the Pro Bowl. When you look at the actual list of who made it on there, it is completely different, especially prominently at the quarterback position, other positions to add as well, but mostly for the quarterback position. When you see how watered down, how bad, especially this year, it was. So more so for the AFC, I should say. So the original 6 that made it into the Pro Bowl at the beginning, in late December when we got the Pro Bowl list, for the AFC, it was Herbert, Allen, and May. Now, of course, May, since you had this before Super Bowl, with everyone on the Patriots and everyone on the Seahawks who made it, that, shocker, no one's going to go to that. And it's not a huge list. We can go to The Patriots here, if I can bring their team up real quick to see how many people they had on here. Yeah, so originally you had New England have two players, Christian Gonzalez and Drake May. And then if you go to Seattle here, kind of scrolling down real quick to see how many people they had there. They had 6 with Sam Darnold, DeMarcus Lawrence, Shahid Shaheed on kick return, Jack Smith and Jigba, Leonard Williams, and Devin Witherspoon as well. And you look at that is 8 players that aren't on the Pro Bowl because they're going to the Super Bowl because you have to have this before Super Bowl. So already the quote unquote best players selected. Now again, at this point you could say it's completely meaningless what the Pro Bowl means to players in terms of legacy and so forth. It's a joke, popularity contest, however you want to phrase it as. But still, the first round of selections of the first people that got actually voted in, you already have 8 players entirely gone because of the Super Bowl. Obviously, they're not going to participate in this stupid, meaningless games than the Super Bowl, obviously. So you have that. Then you have also injuries. Not even factoring that, but just injuries like Josh Allen, who had surgery as well, and as well as other players that may have stepped out because of that too. On top of it, so you have some part of players stepping away because of injury. All right, so that waters down even more. So you have Drake May gone because of the Super Bowl. You have Josh Allen gone because of injury. And also probably wants to take time away too. On top of that, and Herbert that had no problems whatsoever, didn't make the Super Bowl, didn't have injuries, but just chose to opt out. And what you have for the AFC, you have an entirely new cast of quarterbacks. The first one being Joe Burrow. Okay, respectable at least for the name, but didn't really do too much this season, being out for majority of the year. So if you want to say, it's watered down, but again, in terms of prominent names, you have that. Then you have Joe Flacco. Then you have Shedeur Sanders, who have more interceptions than touchdowns. Joe Flacco making his first Pro Bowl in his NFL career. Mind you, he got drafted all the way back in 2008, and he's just made his first Pro Bowl in this one. So you go from Herbert, Allen, and May to Burrow, Flacco, and Sanders. A huge drop-off. To a point, too, I also saw reports that they're asking C.J. Stroud if he wants to go to the Pro Bowl. Justin Fields if he wanted to make a Pro Bowl. Is this what we've come down to? We are asking, at very best, for being nice to them, average players, or below average players for some of these guys, to make the Pro Bowl. And for people that went out there, I don't know where the location even was. Not that, again, it shows how little I even care or pay attention to the Pro Bowl. I only just care about the list that of people that get selected. Outside that, I could care less what they do at those games. But wherever it was being held, I was watching a video real quick, being indoors, barely any fans watching at that point too in the stands. It looks like, at least for capacity-wise. But for people to trail out there and to see how, again, from the list that came from Herbert, Allen, and May, to now you see Shedeur Sanders, how he got in, who knows at this point. Joe Flacco, who knows at this point. Joe Burrow, yes, prominent name, didn't really play that much this year. Had some good moments in the very small action he did play. You look at the NFC side, you had originally Sam Darnold, Stafford, and Dak. Darnold, of course, going to the Super Bowl. Stafford decided to opt out. Dak Prescott was only the one quarterback out of the original 6 entirely that still stuck with it. The 2 replacements was Hurts and Goff. Can't really be too upset with those 2 guys. Certainly far better picks than Flacco and Sanders for the for the AFC. So NFC, a little bit more respectable names that came in. AFC, I don't know. That's how far it's fallen. But it shows you just how little players care. And when people, again, when I talk about, before I get to the main point, I want to go to, again, for fans to travel out there and to see, quote unquote, the best players supposed to be playing in the Pro Bowl, and you have people like this, like Sanders and Flacco, and maybe a couple others that got in as well. Not even mentioning, again, it's probably just the quarterback position we look at for the names that get in. That is really the talking point. It blows my mind. It truly blows my mind of just how far the Pro Bowl has fallen. And there's a lot of changes that they can make. But to the point of that, I think it's also the mentality of the players. Yes, the NFL needs to change. First of all, it needs to be after the Super Bowl. Because again, if you want all your top players to be there, it's pretty difficult when a good portion or a small percentage of them can't get there because there's something more important to do because they make the Super Bowl. All right, so you already, by default, kick out a certain amount of players. Now, again, unfortunately, you can't predict injuries. That happens. There'll always be a factor. You can't change that. But also players, too, opting out for that. And again, is there a way for the NFL to convince players to go? I don't know. I mean, it's also the same problem with the All-Stars for the NBA, where people you look at the games and so forth, it's just They don't try. They have fun. It's just supposed to have fun. They mess around, but it's not serious at all. Similar to the NFL, which is why they went to flag football, because before it was unwatchable. Just two-hand touch, no tackling, not even trying at all. And you don't want to get injured. You don't want to take it too seriously because, of course, if you have a severe injury, wrecks your whole potential career. If you have a contract coming up, it ruins that. So I get to a point, I get that. But from that, it was brutal to watch, where full pads, all that, just two-hand touch, and that's it. So they had to go from that to flag football. A little bit more exciting, per se. A little bit more effort put into it. Like, it's still a little too much out there. Not that serious to begin with. So again, is there a way for the NFL to change things? Yes. I mean, first and foremost, have it after the Super Bowl. Get rid of half of these or most of these ridiculous challenges of this, spectacular catch, trivia, if you want to call it for your teammates, the perfect punt, stuff like this. I mean, maybe perfect punt, maybe you could kind of keep that for special teams and stuff like that. You could probably integrate something like that for special teams for that. There's only so much you can do on that side of the ball. So maybe for the punt, you can kind of keep that. Everything else is stupid. The relay races, maybe you can kind of give me an argument for that. But again, most of these challenges are just absolutely ridiculous. Trivia, one-hand catches, spikes, and stuff like that. It's stupid. I'll just really call it that way. It's absolutely stupid to watch. So yes, the NFL is going to have to change things to be a little bit more enticing. Even to a point, you go all the way back to how it used to be, like, the strongest man, fastest player, and so forth, or, for the bench press, I should say, fastest player and stuff like that. Would that be enticing still, or would that also be for the modern players ridiculous and dumb? Could be. But certainly that's a better outlook or better games than just what they're doing now, really. So again, after the Super Bowl, change the games up. But even then, I think it goes half and half, where it is on the NFL for that side of trying to resculpt what the Pro Bowl is and trying to make it more enticing for players. But also it's on the players now. If you want to criticize the modern day players, modern day athletes of just not caring. If you want to say just they have their own brands, there's more important things they want to do outside of football and so forth. It's not taken as seriously, or they take much pride in the game as opposed to prior generations of NFL players that come through that you've seen, especially for older fans, how it's been throughout the years, seeing going back to the 80s, 90s, and so forth, early 2000s of how it was of that, like those type of players, as opposed to now. It's a different era, it's a different mentality. Could really just chalk up to society of how things are for players and just people in general. Things change, interests change, and so forth. Comes with the territory, comes with time. And you look at right now for players, and it doesn't seem for a lot of them a good portion, say a lot of them, but a good portion, especially the quarterback position, just not that caring. Where either they opt out, that of course, again, you're already by default pushing people out because of the Super Bowl. But also too, when they play, it's just, what is there? Again, there's only so much you can do to entice a player. It's on them to put the effort in. It's on them to want to have the Pro Bowl be better, to make it better, to make it more entertaining. And if this is the best it's going to be, this is the best it's going to be. And you could just chalk it up to also, you know what? We should just get rid of the Pro Bowl entirely for the game and so forth, and just have the selections, have the Pro Bowl, the All-Pro selections, and just leave it at that. And they'll figure out something. I know the NFL doesn't want absolutely nothing between then and the Super Bowl, even though they kind of moved up a little bit closer to the Super Bowl for this year. So again, you don't want that dead spot between the conference championships and the Super Bowl, where you have this kind of 2-week period, or at least a 1-week period in between those two games of nothing, and you have to wait a little bit longer for the big game. And they'll never get rid of that, of course. They'll always want to have something there, whether it's the week of the Super Bowl or the week before. They want to have someone there to fill in the void. Bad for ratings, bad for marketing, bad for money, so forth. How you want to call it, typical stuff for the viewership. But at this point, too, I'm in that camp where unless something drastically changes, or they kind of take this a little bit more seriously with the games and so forth, and in terms of the players too, it's just not. You might as well get rid of it. You might as well scrap everything and just have the selections, and that's it. And then if there's nothing between the conference champions and the Super Bowl, oh well at that point. Is it really that missed? Is it really that memorable if it's still there? I mean, for the viewership, I'd be interested to see how low the ratings are if you really care about that. Again, to me, it is a little bit of a joke at this point. I think the other part too is just it's not in Hawaii. I think it's another kind of enticing part of it too, is it's not in Hawaii because they are still building the new stadium. I think it's going to be done. The new stadium is supposed to be done, that project. It's not just the stadium, it's all the buildings around it and so forth. They're also doing as well. I think it's like 2029, 2030 is the end date. It could be a little bit longer. So we still are a few years away from going back to Hawaii potentially. So again, it has been brutal to see. I'm just looking now real quick. The last time it was in Hawaii, it was 2016 for that. And again, it's tough. Yeah, it's been over now at this point over a decade since we've seen them being in Hawaii, and because the stadium being dilapidated, they have to do something different. They have to rebuild a new stadium and so forth. And again, the project's not going to be done until I think last time I looked up was 2029, 2030, around that range. Again, maybe a little bit longer after that. So we still are a few years away from it. Again, be well over. I mean, probably pushing 15 years at that point when it opens up. But again, we are 10 years removed from the last time they were in Hawaii, and I think it does take a little bit luster out of the Pro Bowl. Is going to Hawaii. I think that is kind of part of the selling point is going to Hawaii. And now you take it away, it's just, for the most part, it was in Orlando. They bounce around to other places like Vegas, Arizona. I think they were at one point. And it's not as enticing at this point here for players. I think in part of that, a small portion of it. Not saying it's all on because it's on Hawaii, the Pro Bowl sucks and that's why it's bad. No, I think it is a small part in that. There are certainly bigger issues for that on the players too, of wanting it, the effort, as well as the NFL for these stupid games they put together. But again, I think for the NFL, I'd rather have a severely drastic change to how they do things. Again, after the Super Bowl and drastically changing the games that are played, as well as, if not, just get rid of it. And it's not going to be missed. I don't think the players are going to be that upset over it. Maybe some, but for the vast majority, I don't think they really would care for that. I'm sure there's in their luxurious lives, I'm sure they could probably think of something else to, fill in the void of not having a Pro Bowl for whatever is a day or two, or how many days they play it for. So again, we'll see how it plays out for next year. I doubt anything major is going to change. Maybe there's a new game or two or what they're going to do with it, but I doubt anything major is going to change there unless something drastic, shocking happens where the NFL gets rid of it. But again, they're not going to because they need the void between the conference championships and the Super Bowl. They need something in that nature there. As meaningless, as stupid as the Pro Bowl is, they need something to fill the void, like I said. And I don't think they'll get rid of it. Will it get better? Unfortunately, I think it's going to be stagnant. Or worse, one of the two. And it sucks for older fans that watch the Pro Bowl at, younger in their lives. Again, whether it was the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, where it was great and it was fun to watch. They're players that may actually put the effort in, actually wanted to make it exciting for that part too. And also, again, unfortunately, taking away the Hawaii aspect as well is it does water it down a little bit. So. We'll see. We'll see if anything changes for next year for 2027 for the Pro Bowl. I doubt it, but we'll see how it plays out there too. But again, just also that part is as well, kind of get back to the whole thing about the quarterback picks is just how watered out. Again, going back to the players wanting it and so forth and other things coming up in their lives, but they need to fix things for this Pro Bowl selection because you could not have a player like Shedeur Sanders and Joe Flacco type of players getting into the Pro Bowl if it's quote unquote the best players in the NFL. Absolutely ridiculous, especially again for the fans that travel out there to watch that, to see that it's embarrassing. It's a slap in the face for them. I don't know how much it costs. I'm sure it is probably a pretty penny to watch them. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's really cheap, but I doubt it. Knowing the NFL, I'm sure it probably costs a good portion to get in there to watch or whatever they charge there. So again, to have that and to see players like Sanders and Flacco and others as well make it in it's pretty embarrassing. It is, no doubt about that. And then getting into the international games, we have a couple new places announced. We have the two new ones being Paris and Australia. We have Paris, France, and we have Melbourne, Australia, as well as a new location in Brazil, Rio, Brazil. We're going to. Then we have Mexico City, Madrid, Spain, Munich, Germany. Again, infamous for butchering names. I think it's Munich, Germany, as well as 3 games in London. We don't know the teams yet, of course, who's going, at least the official game set of who's going where at this point here, but we have now a total of 9 games. Let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, 9 games slated for the 2026 season. And of course, I've seen reports too on social media and so forth that the NFL wants to try and push for every team to play a international game at some point here, and I don't like it. I don't even like it being the 9 international games this season. It is too much. I don't think fans are really that excited at all to see their teams. I mean, first and foremost, someone's going to lose a home game if you have that way. So it takes away from that nature as well, which is, it sucks already for the fans on top to start off with. But also, too, just the time zone and so forth, the traveling is much, especially for Australia. That's going to be brutal for whoever has to travel to those games as well. I mean, we've seen just little complaints with London. Now imagine it with Australia for that. And you look at other teams as well with, for Brazil, for Germany, and now with Paris there too. And who knows the other destinations they're going to pick for upcoming teams or upcoming destinations. I have not seen. They had Ireland. Sorry, I think last year they had Ireland too was a destination. They don't have it this year. But it's just, again, I think the traveling is too much. I think the international games is stupid. I get you want to try and expand the NFL into the world and not just keep it in country, in state, if you want to say it as. But it's just too much for me. I think it is for just, again, the players traveling, the times you have to watch these teams on. That's absolutely brutal. But again, just the times you have to watch them at, and just for the quality of play. Again, at the same time, you've seen at London. Does a time zone, a time change affect? Does the traveling affect the players? So, again, overall, I'm not a big fan of the international games, especially if they're trying to push for every single team to play that. It just, again, you're taking away from the fans. You're taking away from the teams having home games there, and you're really just kind of pushing it down other people's throats for these games. And it all comes down to money, of course, just like anything in life. It all comes down to money for the revenue. I'm sure they're killing it with that. Of course, you always see everyone. It's always packed crowds everywhere they go for international games, especially in London, so in Germany, Mexico City, Spain. It'll be like that for, I'm sure, in Paris and Melbourne when we get to those two destinations, wherever they are during the season. Unfortunately, the two teams that unfortunately have to go there, more so for Australia. But again, I don't like this. Again, I get you want to expand the game across the world, but it's too much. It is. If you want to do your London game once a year, twice a year at most, okay, we can live with that. I don't like that, but we can live with that. But now when we get to 3 London games on top of 6 other destinations, it's just, again, too much. I think it should stay in state, in the country. And again, if you want to have your 1 game, 2 games in London, that's fine. And to be honest, how many people outside the U.S. really care about NFL, really care about football? Not football and soccer, but American football. I don't think they really do. I don't. I think there's soccer will always dominate, and you could say maybe other sports as well. What was it? Like cricket, another popular one too. On top of that, and some countries certainly not popular here, but in certainly a lot of our countries, cricket is a major sport. Rugby to a certain point in certain areas, but it's mostly just dominated by soccer, especially in Europe. And again, I don't know how interested really the rest of the world is for American football. I doubt they really care that much. Not to say there aren't fans out there. I'm sure there is fans out there in Paris and Germany and Australia, Brazil, Mexico, Spain, London. There's always going to be some fans in those areas that are going to appreciate and going to like that. But I think for the most part, it's not the NBA of a international sport, though you do have some players coming from outside the country that make the NFL. But it's not the same really as I compare it to the NBA for that. I don't. It's a prominent American sport. I doubt a lot of people outside the U.S. really care about football. Maybe the only team you can really say is Canada, really, with the CFL, what they have. That's probably the second closest international team that really cares about it. Maybe London, because of how many times they go there every damn year for that. So maybe they're up there too as well. But I think it's just a waste of time. I don't like it. You're taking away from the fans in the U.S. You're taking away home games. And all you care about is money. You don't care about if it affects the players, whatever it is, a quality of play and so forth, the travel. You don't care about that at all. And it's unfortunate. I think, and again, unfortunate too. On top of that they will probably get their way in having every team play an international game. With some of the things speculating what they want to do there as well, and expand even more international games a year. They'll get that. They'll get their way. Same thing too with the regular season. They'll expand it to 18 games at some point. They'll probably expand it to 19 games. They will get at some point in time down the road, whatever that be is 10 years, 15, 20 years, whatever it is down the line, they will get rid of preseason games, and they will add it on to the regular season. Make no mistake, we will get to 20 regular season games. There's no doubt in my mind they will get to that slowly. All right, I've already seen some talks here and there about 18 game seasons. Again, when will that happen? It's not really a matter if, but when. It will happen. When will it happen? I don't know, but it will definitely happen. No doubt about that. It will happen, and it's just the NFL will get its way because of the money. Will they add bye weeks to that? Doubt it. Maybe at this point, I think you have to. If you even expand a game or two, you're going to have to add a second bye weekend for players, what they're really asking for. But again, it's just an example. I'm not trying to get off topic for the international games, but it's the NFL will get its way. It will. It cares about money, cares about the ratings. It will get its way. Don't worry about it. They will find a way to make every team play international game. If not, they'll make sure there'll be a whole bunch of international games and not just 9. They will bump up those numbers. And will be all over the world here. But might be in China, might be in Ireland again, might be in Canada, might be in Africa somewhere. Who knows? In the Middle East, who knows at this point where we're gonna be? In Russia, you name it. You could just throw anything at the map, and there's a good chance they might go there. They will find a way to make up for other international games and make it more exciting. Again, it's just unfortunate because it's just you're taking away games. Like I keep saying, taking away games from home teams from the U.S. Again, if you want to have some here and there, I have no problem with that expanding outward and kind of giving a small opening to the rest of the world of showing and offering what the NFL can give. But it should be prominently in the U.S. It is an American sport. It is not a world sport. Again, I know there are players from around the world that do play the NFL. Not try to discredit them and their passion for the game, but it is a prominent American sport, and prominently Americans only really care about it. I'm sure there's very little people around the world that truly care about the NFL. Again, there are other sports around the world that are not that people love and are dominated in some areas. And again, there's only so much they can do. Even with the ramp up with international games, I don't know. I don't even think that they can really put their foot in the door and being a prominent sport around the world. Again, with soccer, of how the staple it is for a lot of countries, especially in Europe, rugby, cricket, you name it for sports down the list there. Even if you ramp up the games there, yes, you get your money, you get your revenue, but it's not really if you want to look at the good terms of the good intentions of expanding the sport. I don't know, even with that, even if every team played an international game, even if you want to ramp up the international games per year, that it's going to not put much of a dent into there and put throw the NFL into the ring with soccer and other sports. I just don't think it's going to do that. It's a waste of time. But again, it's not a waste of time in terms of the aspect of money and revenue. That'll always be a winner there. But in terms of good intentions of expanding the sport and trying to compete with other sports in the world, I don't think it's going to do anything at all. It's mostly a prominent U.S. sport. Stick with your fans, what works there. Again, if you want to maybe try and push Canada a little bit more, because the CFL have no issue with that, and make that cool international, adding Canadian teams if you want to do that. But again, we'll see. There's always talks about adding a European team like London, having an NFL team, but again, factor in the travel, the money and so forth. It's not going to work out. And again, knowing the NFL, they will find a way. They will make it happen, whether it is a bad decision. If it doesn't work out, they will find a way to do that because, again, just money, markets, and so forth. But again, we'll see how it happens out with this year. We'll see next year, of course, with the new destinations are gone. They're going to probably ramp these up even more. We'll see a new destination. Might be playing in Russia and China. Might be playing in the Middle East somewhere. And who knows at this point where the NFL is going to expand to and where they're going to go to New Zealand at this point. Who knows, really, of where it's going to go to Korea, Japan. So we'll see with that and more to see what teams are slated for these international games. Of course, we're going to have to wait a while as we get closer to the review of the official list for each team's regular season. We'll get bits and pieces of teams officially announced, or at least one team officially announced in a game, or speculation or rumors of who's going to be put where. That'll be interesting to see if they can, typically in May when we get to the scheduling, that as it ramps up closer to that, we will get kind of bits and pieces and try and put together who's going to play where. Unless I'm very interested to see who's going to play in Australia, because that's going to be brutal for the travel, or who's going to play there too, and also for the new sport for the new destination in Paris, who's going there as well. But mostly Australia, who's going to be, unfortunately, the suckers, who's going to have to fly there for those countless hours, play and fly back there for the time changes and so forth. I feel bad for those teams. So we'll see what two suckers get stuck with that for that matchup and when it's played out for that too. We'll see if like similar to how it was this past year in week 1, if we have an international game kind of opening things up to on top of that, or at least, the second team outside of Thursday Night Football, of course, to open things up there. Last year, of course, was in Brazil, between the Chargers and Chiefs out after the Thursday night matchup there to kick off the regular season in 2025. So we'll see if it's a similar suit to where another international team really opens up a day after kickoff of the NFL. So we'll see how it plays out there too on top of that. And funny enough, talking about, I'm just using an example for the 18-game regular season. Funny enough, it just popped up at least in my sports feed here for NFL that the NFLPA came out and said players have no appetite for 18-game seasons for that whenever they want to expand it for. And again, it's the NFL will get its way. Kind of getting back into that point, the NFL will get its way. It'll make 18 games. I guess the only thing they have to really compromise is if they want to add in that second bye week that people were asking for when it got expanded to 17 games at that point there. So we'll see what happens. I know they're really going to try and push it heavily. Whenever it's going to happen, if it's going to be in a year or two now or years down the line for the 18th game. The NFL, like I said, talking about the international games, going back to that real quick, repeating myself over and over again. But the NFL will find its way. They will make it happen. They will add an 18th game in there. There's going to be a huge clash between the NFLPA and for the NFL, of course. The NFL will win regardless. I won't say the NFLPA is useless, but the NFL will make its way. They'll compromise somehow, some way. It'd be more to see if they add a second bye week in the mix there for those players there. But again, just coming out, I think it was like 18 hours ago, at least for the report came out, NFLPA saying, once again, players have no appetite for 18th game in the regular season. So again, we'll see what happens. Again, it will happen. Not if, it will happen. We'll just have to wait and see when it does happen. But it's going to wrap it up there for episode 11 of the SportsBruiserz Podcast. There, like I said, we talked about James Harden with the trade there to the Cavaliers. Talk about the meaningless Pro Bowl game as well as the international game, the two new places that went there. Again, Australia and Paris being new destinations for the NFL for the international games in 2026 and 27. We'll see how it plays out there too, like I said. But if you stuck around, appreciate for you guys waiting till the hour listening to the whole podcast video. Again, if you like what you heard, follow me on YouTube, follow me on Spotify and Twitter as well, where I give my thoughts, opinions, reposts, and so forth, reports, breaking news, and so forth. And again, if you've not seen the previous 10 episodes, again, there's a playlist on my YouTube page, or I'll try and leave a link down below for this video where you can go and listen to the previous 10 episodes as well on Spotify. Like I said, the previous 10 episodes are already uploaded on there. You can go take a listen if you want to catch up on them, or a little bit, listen to a little bit to me more before my next upload for episode 12. So again, appreciate for you guys listening to, and we will see you in the next one.